Tottenham's impressive start to the Premier League season continues. A solid 2-0 win away at Bournemouth. They sit top of the Premier League. It's another clean sheet, another 2 goals. The football is really starting to come alive. And the Spurs fans at the end of the game singing, "We got our Tottenham back." Spurs fans impressed with the style of football. They love what they are seeing. They love the direction that Big Ange is taking them in. And so far, you would say the Postecoglou style of football is suiting not just the fans' appetite for the game, but the players that he has to his disposal as well. Of course, we're going to talk about some of the top performances in this team from some of the individuals. But in terms of the team play, there's still some areas to improve. Clinical edge. Richarlison again today should have put this game to bed a lot earlier. I think Son is still kind of getting used to life without Harry Kane, not playing so much on the teams always transition, teams always counterattack, but being a team that wants to be on the front foot, wants to dominate the ball, is something Son has got to get used to. The midfield pairing of Sarr and Basuma, it is very early days for them as a pair, but the signs look very good indeed. Look very, very good indeed. They both had some amazing moments in possession today, some great touches, some great passes. Some of the press-resisting turns from Basuma were absolutely impeccable. I hear people talk a lot in the game about press resistance. There was a moment in the first half where Basuma receives the ball outside his box, throws his left shoulder down to the left-hand side, then spins off to the right, pirouettes past the press of Bournemouth and drives forward. And that is what he is impeccable at doing. And the likes of Højbjerg, for me, just a little bit too slow and a little bit too stiff in terms of being able to do that. And the confidence is starting to grow. I thought Mickey at the back, again, we didn't really get to see his pace today. We've heard a lot about it and how quick it is and how powerful he is. But I thought it was a solid performance from him. And also Vicario in goal. No, didn't have to make any outstanding saves today, but the ball at his feet, we know how much of an important element of football that is in 2023. And compared to Hugo Lloris, who is a goalkeeper of the previous generation, it was top. He was very, very good as well today. Standout performer is Mason Mount, without a shadow of a... No, sorry, not Mason Mount. James Maddison. My apologies. I take that back. In fact, scorn me for that one, because that's a madness. I just read his name come up on something there in front of me. James Maddison. I repeat again, James Maddison. What a player. What a player. Maddison is an individual that for years I wanted Man United to sign. A player that, go back to the videos when Spurs signed him earlier on this summer. You saw no negativity from me. I said, what a player and what a deal. Now, I did question him picking Spurs over Newcastle, but that's based on what Spurs fans have educated me on for the past 5 years since the Football Terrace has existed, that their owners don't really have the ambition to win and Newcastle's do. Therefore, why would you pick Tottenham? But that's a different conversation for another day. In terms of reviewing his performance, Maddison was class again. Gets his first goal. And interesting, not the best. Sometimes striking the ball cleanly can be a problem. That little nick that he got on the ball was perfect. It was actually perfection. You couldn't do it again if he tried, maybe. But the run was the important element. He saw it. Sarr makes the pass, bang, bottom corner. He was absolutely tremendous today. He really, really was. And I also want to big up Big Ange, Postecoglou. I'm not changing my mind as of right now that he is going to be a resounding success, because a resounding success means winning titles, winning trophies. And I'm not convinced yet that Spurs are going to do that, but I'm going to praise the progression. What I've seen from him in the first 3 games has been excellent. And the one element which may not get much mention on Monday Night Football, on Monday night, on Match of the Day tonight, is his in-game management. For the first 15, maybe 20 minutes of that second half, Bournemouth were cooking. They were winning the ball back in the press. They were creating very good either opportunities or chances in the game. And Spurs were a little bit rattled. And in the early days of a new manager, it is important to get those wins under your belt. We saw last season with Man United, first 2 games awful, battered. And then we went on a really good run. I think it was 3 or 4 months. We only lost 1 game, and that was against Man City. But we started playing, the style of football came out, the goals started to come, and the confidence started to build. The wins are important. The manager here today made brilliant in-game decisions. When he brought onto the football pitch Højbjerg and Perisic for experience and to toughen up that midfield, Bournemouth did very little after that point. In fact, within 3 minutes of that change, the goal happens. And that is where a manager earns his money. Not solely, but that's a big area where they earn their money. What do they do in game to counter what the opponents are doing? Pep has been a martyr at that for years. Fergie was the Don. We saw last year Ten Hag, man, sometimes he made subs at half time and then people went on to make a huge impact. There's no way we make the top 4 and win a trophy without it. You could equally look back at Spurs last season, probably under Jose as well. The lack of in-game management, changing things early enough, making and subs may look negative by the personnel you're bringing on, but it wasn't a negative substitution. It was to shore up the midfield, to maintain better possession, to not be caught on the transition, so you could attack and score more goals. So the principle of football is correct, coupled with the right in-game management. I thought it was impeccable from Big Ange Postecoglou today as well. Super chat here from my brother Jerome. He says, I just love how confident the boys are looking. I know rivals are going to say it's only Bournemouth. Yes, as a Spurs fan, I have been dying to see this kind of football. Listen, I said this last night when Chelsea beat Luton. I don't subscribe to this. It's only nonsense. I know you beat Bournemouth 3-2 in this same fixture last year, but they beat you at White Hart Lane, that last-minute goal, if I'm not mistaken, last campaign. So these were teams that Spurs, over the last 2 to 3 years, have lost to on a regular basis, or taken the lead against, sat back and conceded late against. Spurs fans have absolutely every right to feel happy. Now, listen, rivals will take what the fans are singing. We've got our Tottenham backers. What have you got back? You're not winning anything. Again, fans are allowed to be jubilant. I defended Arsenal many times last year from the celebration police. Don't over-celebrate. Nonsense. Sing your songs, have fun, enjoy the win. So what football is about, it's about the enjoyment. I don't subscribe to the League Gunner train of thought that, well, unless it leads to you winning the Premier League, you don't celebrate goals, you don't celebrate wins, you celebrate nothing. You remain morbid and in funeral settings until the day you win a trophy. That's ridiculous. Enjoy yourselves today, Tottenham fans. If Levy and the board don't back Big Ange after this, then I don't know anymore with the ambition of the club. Well, that's the one element where I would say that Spurs fans celebrate the wins, but don't take it too far. And what I mean by that is keep the pressure on the owners. I said this many times to Gooners. Jess and I have had this conversation for many years. Just because you're moving up the table and improving, don't take your foot off the neck of the owners. Because this is what your owners do, because my owners do it. FSG do it. And I know Spurs fans all backstage, I'm going to see if they nod their heads or not when I say this. If you guys get very happy and you become relaxed as fans, oh, this is brilliant, they'll say, oh, we won't go and buy that striker then. We won't go and buy this player then. That's what they do. And they cut a corner and they cheat the process. And Spurs cannot afford at this point, you're bang on, Jerome, to cheat the process. So celebrate with the players. Praise Postecoglou. But Daniel Levy shouldn't be getting off the hook at all for years. It should take Spurs fans 5, 6, 7 years of progression and winning trophies before they even turn around and say, okay, Levy, we forgive you now. That's how long it should take, in my opinion. Cal here says, won't dare complain with the result and performance, but my God, man, we need 2 more forwards badly. Centre back 2 with a striker and a winger specifically. Hey, look, Richarlison looks to me, listen, this is going to sound maybe a bit, this might sound wrong because he plays well for Brazil, and I can't think of a country more where there's more pressure to play for. But when it comes to Premier League football, Watford and Everton, they look really good. There's much more pressure at Tottenham because I don't care what Everton fans won't like me saying this. You are a much bigger team than Everton in 2023. And I feel like he's struggling with the I'm the new Harry Kane vibe. I've got to replace him. He looks like he's crumbling under that pressure. Now, a goal or 2 might save him, but some of his touches today, some of his movement, it was harder to do what he did. then do it right. There was that touch where he falls over the ball in the middle of the park, and then he kind of kicks out. There was the chance where I don't know what he did. He took it round the defender and the goalkeeper, and then used his back leg to touch the ball. Mad. A confident player strikes that and scores. It'll get more game time, but I do agree with you, Cal. You do need a bit more. A USA Arsenal fan woke up to watch Spurs a 9 away. Spurs are 9 away. I don't know what that means. Maybe you've mistyped that. Remember, we are live after Man United and Arsenal's games today as well. So rivals, make sure you come back. It could be embarrassing. Panel time now. We've got Orchie. We've got Jacob. We've got young Daniel coming on to have their say. Viewers, please hit like buttons. Please subscribe. Please turn on your bell notification buttons as well. That's very, very important to us. Boys, welcome back to the show. Congratulations on the win today. Orchie, talk to me. Another solid performance, clean sheet, and more goals.
Yeah, Ange ball grows. It gets better week by week. Mate, everything you just said, I agree with everything that. Obviously, I was devastated when we sold Kane when he went to Bayern Munich, but I was even more devastated, I've got to say, in the summer when Chelsea got Pochettino, because I really wanted Pochettino back. I thought he's the only one who's going to get us playing to the way we were playing before. I was really unsure about Ange, but he's week by week. He's definitely winning me over. Obviously, pre-season as well, the stuff that he was saying, the way some of the games that we were playing. When you're a Spurs fan, you do not dare get your hopes up. But I have to say, I can't help but getting my hopes up because it just the simple fact of you look at how someone like Basuma is flourishing under him. It's just really fantastic. I mean, today this was a typical kind of game where last season under Conte and even Mourinho, where, like you say, we would have first half we would be non-existent, probably go a couple of goals down, and then second half we have to try to battle to get back. Whereas I felt majority of that game we bossed it. We looked really comfortable. As you say, I think the beginning of the second half, Bournemouth started to come back a little bit. And that's the one point where I was screaming, saying, why is Richarlison still on the field? Get him off, put Son in the middle, and stick, Perisic on the left. And literally within a couple of minutes, he did that. And as you said, that definitely shored us up again. I think Sarr started to look a bit not tired, but he was being more and more ineffective. So he took him off and put Højbjerg in there, and he definitely shored things up in midfield. And we started bossing again. After that, Bournemouth didn't really trouble us at all. This was a game where I felt comfortable from start to finish. Maybe not the start, but certainly after about 10 minutes, that I felt right. If this continues like this, we're going to win this game. And I don't remember a game last season where I felt that. And it's just so great feeling that from start to finish, or from early in the game till the final whistle, where you feel like your team is bossing the game. They're having the better chances. They're creating a lot of chances. I mean, we missed quite a few chances in the first half. If Harry Kane was in that team, we could have won this game 5-0 probably, with the chances that we had.
I hear where you're coming from there. Dan, do you concur a lot with what's been said there by Orchie?
Yeah, I 100% agree. This is one of the first games that I've actually seen, like, in a long, long time, that I'm actually able to sit in the back of my chair and relax while I watch Tottenham. I ain't done that in ages. Every game I've watched of Tottenham, I'm on the edge of my seat. Oh, my God, we're going to concede. Oh, my God, it's going to be 1-1. Every game to the last whistle. And then it's always like a relief at the end. I was relieved by, like, the 60th minute. I was like, oh, this game's ours. Seriously, it's like a complete breath of fresh air. It was like the Tottenham fans were chanting, we got our Tottenham back. And it's honestly lovely to see. I don't think we're going to do, in terms of trophy, title chases, trophy chases, anything. I don't think that's going to happen this season, but it's a process, right? This will be the starting blocks of a process. If our fan base backs the manager, if our owners back the manager, we could be seeing something very special here. And I also wanted to put out an unpopular opinion, but if you take out Manchester City's midfield, I think, all right, this is going to get a lot of people mad, but I think we've got the best midfield in the Premier League. If you take out Man City's midfield, I think we have the best midfield in the Premier League. With Bentancur fit.
You think it's better than Arsenal's with Rice and Partey and Jorginho?
100%. With Bentancur fit, that midfield three, Bentancur, Bissouma, Maddison. Come on.
You think? What about? I mean, Chelsea's is new as well, but Lavia, Caicedo, Enzo, and Kunku when he's fit. You think better than that?
Caicedo is nothing compared to Bissouma. Caicedo was what Bissouma. No, Bissouma is what Caicedo thinks he is. Bissouma is what Chelsea fans think Caicedo is, and we paid 25 million for him. I'm telling you,
the rest of the season.
Obviously,
games. Yeah, but if they continue on this trajectory and Bentancur's to come back still, let's see how Bentancur comes back, because look what happened with Kulusevski. He's not been the same player since he came back from injury. Like, this is another point I want to make. Like, Kulusevski, all right, he got the second goal and he does some good runs and stuff, but he's still not the player that he was that first half a season when he came to Spurs. And that concerns me a little bit. I don't know. It's just since, he had that injury where he was out for a while. And then he came back and he just hasn't come back the same player that he was before that injury. Like, maybe with...
No, he is the same player. Kulusevski's the same player. It's just the one trick has been found out. And when people know where you're going, it's easy to telegraph that kind of movement. For me, Kulusevski, I think the goal kind of covers a lot of his cracks. I agree with you. I think he hasn't been that same, like, to the same level, but he's been the same player, in my opinion, for Spurs. I just think Kulusevski crosses going to nowhere. He's always looking to cut in on his left. Now, granted, he was pretty strong on the ball a couple times. But I just want to say, Dan, I love the enthusiasm. I want you to be right. I think it's a little early to say that, but what I will say may not be a popular opinion. James Maddison is the signing of the summer. And I don't know, there was
for the money,
right? Because you sent Winks the other way, right? You got him for 40, you sent Winks for 10. But my point is, I've seen a lot of people. When we signed James Maddison, I was saying, "Oh, you're in talks with Mason Mount. Arsenal just got Kai Havertz, and we just got James Maddison. Which one's going to be the best signing out of these three?" And I think the proof is showing so far, at least, that James Maddison is absolutely the most important part that we've signed. And
I think comparing. Listen, I think most Arsenal fans and most Man United fans would agree with you when those signings happened. The difference is, though, we've got Bruno Fernandes and they had Odegaard, so we didn't. I would have loved Maddison at Man United, but he plays their position. So if you ask Arsenal fans or Man United fans, would you swap? Some Man United fans would swap Bruno. I personally wouldn't. But when you say Maddison is the best signing of the summer, do you mean entirety of all the signings made this summer? You think James Maddison will prove to be the best signing in the Premier League this summer?
I think statistically right now he's proving that anyway. 2 assists, 1 goal in 3 matches. I don't know what signing has had more of an impact to a squad. I mean, I don't want to look at where we're at in the table, but if you look at the results, 2 wins and a draw, that's pretty decent. And you look at the other clubs that are in and around there, what signing have they made that has impacted their squad to this level? That's the reason why I think James Maddison has been the most important signing of the summer in total. Now, again, at the end of the year, we may be looking at saying, oh, Caicedo, Lavia, they've came and they've worked well with Enzo Fernandez. That remains to be seen. But at this moment, for the foreseeable future, I can't see anyone else being a more important signing for their club than James Maddison.
No, but price for value, surely price for value, Maddison has to be the best signing of the summer. In terms of quality, that I'd like wait to see like for the end of the season. But we signed this guy for 30 million, and look how much quality he's given our squad. I haven't seen this create
the bargain of the summer.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I'm saying. Like price for value in terms of business, 100%. He's the signing of the summer.
Yeah, listen, I think he could be. It could end up being. I think it's hard to judge after 3 games, especially as the window hasn't shut yet. You've got, when you say value, you've got sort of Amrabat that could join Man United for £20 million and transform our team as an example. I understand that, you've got, Timber could have been a shout if he hadn't picked up that mad injury. It just depends on how things go. It's about continuing this, isn't it? As opposed to, you've got to remember last year, and I'm not saying it will go the same way, that last season, 10, 12 games in, was Tottenham's greatest ever start to a Premier League campaign. And it ended the season with you guys saying, sell the club, burn it down. So I'm not saying that Maddison can't be the greatest signing this summer. I would say it is 3 games, and some club new signings haven't even started kicking balls yet. So,
but the style though, Terry, is completely different to last year. I agree. Last year we were having the most phenomenal start that we've had, but every Spurs fan was sitting back saying, we're not playing well. We're getting lucky in a lot of these instances. We're conceding when we shouldn't be conceding. There's holes all over the pitch. So I thought, you know, from a Spurs fan perspective, there was no way that we all thought we were going somewhere last season based off the 10-game start that we had, because we all saw the holes there. It was pretty evident for everybody to see. I think now why we're a little bit of a different tone is 3 matches in, this is a completely different Tottenham. I do agree with what you were saying there at the beginning there, Terry, about don't take the pressure off the owners either. We got our Tottenham back. I'm worried that Daniel Levy heard that song and he's thinking, okay,
he was looking. No, he was in the stadium looking. No. This got me so mad. They were singing the chant, right? And then they just panned the camera to Daniel Levy, and he's just there like.
But that's why you have to.
I punched my TV.
That's why you have to be mindful as Spurs fans to celebrate well, but keep that pressure on them, because you know what Daniel Levy will do. He'll go, well, we've got Richarlison. You've got your Tottenham back. What more do you need from us? And that's when things start. That's when, listen, a couple of injuries and suddenly things may not be as good. You have to keep that pressure on. You know, Man United fans do it all the time. That we all get called out for this, but only some of us are guilty of it. My green and gold scarf, my anti-Glazer agenda remains even if we win the quadruple this year. We're not going to win the quadruple, but even if it did, I'm still Glazers out. It's not about short-term success or even winning things. It's about the overall way they run the football club. Too many Man United fans, though, you sign a big player or get a shiny new toy, or you win a few games and suddenly they care not about the ownership structure. And that's why they've got away with it for 18 years. It's why your club's got away with it for a similar amount of time. It's why Liverpool started to go backwards, because their fans defend them. And they can be mutually exclusive of one another, celebrating wins, praising performances, but still holding your ownership and your board to account. Those things can all happen exactly the same time. But listen, boys, I do agree that you guys are decent. I'm going to sit there and say this. As I said at the top of the video, I'm not changing my mind so far about who's going to finish where this season. It's still too early to tell. But what I do think Spurs are going to do is be a thorn in a lot of people's sides. And that's good for one thing and one thing only, the Premier League. Because suddenly you guys are in there. You're a team that could definitely finish inside that top 5. Let's see how other teams improve, what else they do in the market. It's going to be you're sitting top of the league right now as well. Some people are getting gassed with it. I mean, you could be 8th by the end of the weekend if all the teams below you win. But listen, it's better to be sitting top than not. Like, that's what I'm going to say. I'd rather be top right now than 8th, or 10th or 13th where we are. I hear you on that. In terms of strikers, how are you all feeling about giving Richarlison more games to get his confidence back? I see you shake your head there, Dan. Or do you just want the club to go out and buy a top striker with that Kane money?
Listen, I'm somebody that has been known to back this guy, and I've backed him fairly enough. Because for me, I thought we had brought in Richarlison to be a backup to Kane, and if that was the case, I was fine with signing Richarlison. Obviously, we signed them for an unreal amount of money, but now that I'm seeing that, I think Levy bought Richarlison thinking that Kane was going to leave now, and now he's had his striker to bring in and replace Kane. That is disgraceful. You cannot replace Harry Kane with Richarlison. He's not looking good at all. Every touch that he takes, he loses the football. We need to go out and sign a striker. We don't even need to spend that much money. Gift Orban is available for 30 million, and he's quality. Or maybe even Brennan Johnson from Nottingham Forest.
No, he's not. He is not as good. I'm not a big fan of Richarlison, but Johnson is not Richarlison's level.
He's better. No. You have not seen Richarlison play football. Matter of fact, you could put a traffic on there, and it could do a better job than Richarlison. It's impossible that every single touch that you take.
I understand that take, but Brennan Johnson,
number one is my number one option is Gift Orban. But
in Richarlison's defense, he did have there was 2 decent backheel passes that he had. So not every touch went completely wayward. He had 2 decent touches, but again, Dan, I agree with you. It's not enough. He is not proving to be worth the money that we spend at this juncture. Just quite frankly, I've said from the jump, give him 3 starts and let's see if he can do anything to contribute to the game. And he has not done that at all. And I think, we got Fulham in the cup next at Craven Cottage. Then after that, we got Burnley. This is a good time to see if this guy still can give you something. But at this moment, the fact that we haven't even splashed the 30 million on a Gift Orban who could play anywhere up front, I don't necessarily think we're solely looking for a striker either. I think we're looking for anyone who can fit into the piece there. Ange has said from the jump, he wants players who can play in any position. And that's what he's doing by moving Son to the striker position. We got to see it for 30 minutes today as opposed to 20 last week. So we're seeing these things starting to come along. And I've been worried about Richarlison. This was his chance. These were 3 starts to do anything, and he has yet to do so. The price tag is neither here nor there, because I mean, if you think about it, 60 million for Richarlison, what you're getting, people spend 60 million on Havertz, people spend 60 million on Mason Mount. So I ain't that concerned about the 60 million that went down the drain, especially when it ain't my money.
I personally don't care about the money, but I do think that he needs a competition though.
Absolutely.
Even just purely to have competition to push him, to make him sweat a bit more. So that if he's not performing, then obviously he needs to get dropped. So we need somebody there. I think we do need to sign someone like, I mean, what I've seen of Gift Orban is phenomenal. So I agree with Dan. I'd love to see someone like that at our club. Powerful, who'd be a menace against defenders, hard to defend against if he can perform that way in the Premier League. But obviously, Belgian league and the Premier League isn't the same. And sometimes, players, when they come from lesser leagues, let's say, with all due respect, you don't know what you're going to quite get. But he seems like one of these kind of, I don't know, there's aspects of what I've seen of him on video, obviously, where it reminds me of when Drogba first came to the Premier League. He seems to have that kind of powerful type of presence that, he would just terrorize defenders. But, can he do it? Can he cut it in the Premier League? I don't know. The alternative is to, I've heard a couple of people talk about, obviously, Tony, when his, ban is lifted at Christmas. I mean, I don't know. Does the ban mean he can't get it? Why can't we get him in now,
so
try to get him now?
So he's not allowed to do anything football related until January, barring training. He can start training in September. So no one's allowed to buy him now. So there's so there's a rule around that. But it's going to be an interesting one. I want to go to some super chats here. Jerome says the pressure to replace Harry Kane is too big for any player, but I agree we need another striker. Interestingly, your team's playing well without him, and that's one of the things I said why you had to sell him, because I actually think the team overall will up its game with Kane leaving, because there is that weird logic that you definitely go backwards when he's sold, which typically doesn't always happen. If Spurs win the league, then United and Gunners fans are finished. Yeah, Spurs win the league before Man United and Arsenal do, that we will be finished out here for the whole summer. Meant a striker away from looking dangerous. Oh, okay, I get what you mean now, my friend. Yeah. He said, yeah, I hear you. Looking good in midfield isn't close to Arsenal's, though, is what Colton says here. Yeah, look, Spurs are looking good. I wouldn't put them up there with Arsenal's yet, but we'll see. To say Spurs' midfield is better than Chelsea's midfield is mad. And Nkunku, Lavia, Enzo, and Caicedo haven't even played a game together yet. Simmer down. Remember your place, Tottenham.
12.
I'm talking about the 3 starting midfielders. I'm not talking about the depth in midfield. I'm talking about the 3 starting midfielders.
Dan, it's coming from a place of 12th place. So let's just remember who said that.
I
don't know. Nkunku, the signing of Nkunku is great and all, but the man hasn't even worn a shirt outside of America, and you're talking about him being one of the best. That's interesting to me. When we could talk about hype all we want, expectations all we want, Lavia stepping up to a bigger club all we want, but at the same time, I haven't seen it. So who's proving it right now? And I agree with Dan. We're looking pretty good right now. I just want to say one
thing as well. Mickey van der Ven, I mean, all right, again, he's only a couple of games in. What a night and day difference to Dyer. Thank God, we've got someone who can actually defend, who can run, who can challenge. In the second half, he did this, like he took the ball, he defended against one player on the right-hand side of the penalty area, and then he literally got up and ran across to the other side and defended on the other side as well. Just really happy. Obviously, it's early days, but he already looks like a much, much better. I've got nothing against Dyer. I'm sure he's a lovely guy and everything.
I've got everything against.
I've got a few things against Dyer.
Yeah, I've got a lot of things against Dyer. Yeah. But what's wrong with Destiny Udogie? That one's really worried me. Like Destiny Udogie, that injury really worried me. Is it people saying it's an ACL? People saying it's an ACL. That's an ACL. That's really, really worrying. I don't think it's an ACL. But
hopefully it's not. I don't like anyone to get a bad injury like that. I always say this, and I'm not trying to be morbid. When they're innocuous, worry. when there's almost like nothing that went on, and when they lay still. So whenever you see a player rolling around, they're generally not hurt. If they're laying pretty still, that's never a good sign, really. ID here says, trophies, you ain't got none if you want to throw 12th, is what he says there. I get it. Listen, people, I want to say thank you all for tuning into the show for the last 30 minutes. We're live again after Arsenal and Man United's games at 3 p.m. So Spurs fans, you want to come back, and I'm sure there'll be something to talk about in that. Please come back, rivals. We like having you here. Orchie, Jacob, Dan, always a pleasure to speak to you, boys. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again.